breaking it down in layman's terms. How has artificial intelligence changed the game for sales and marketing? Now, there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence, generative AI for generating emails, content copy, automated outreach, improving business efficiencies. Well, today I want to focus specifically on sales content copy prompts using AI. Now, a few weeks back, I had a great conversation with Sonia Dumas. Now, Sonia is a selling system strategist in layman's terms. She's a sales and digital leader. She's got a wealth of information when it comes to topics like AI and sales content copy. Now, we spoke for about 40 minutes or so, but today I just want to highlight a few takeaways and segments from our sit-down interview. Now, one of the first questions I asked Sonia was, can you share some insight on how has the game changed when it comes to artificial intelligence, specifically when it comes to sales copy? Let's roll that footage with Sonia now.
Doug, that's a loaded question. So, let's break it down on what AI is, actually allowing us to do from specifically a sales and marketing side. AI does a lot on data and analytics and being able to fast track processes and streamline. We're not talking about that right now. We're specifically talking about how AI is changing the game for sales and marketing. And one of the ways it's doing that is it's allowing us to write better content. And what that goes to show you, though, when someone says, oh my gosh, I used AI, I used this prompt and to create an email, and now my email rates, my email click rates went from 20% and now it's like 30 or 40%. It just increased. And it seems amazing, but if you take a step back and say, okay, your email open rates just increased. Got it. Why is that happening? Because technically whoever was writing your content was not appealing to your audience. And so that also goes to show that a lot of us, we're not great at writing content. We're not great at being able to communicate in a way that makes clients and prospects actually want to click and open the email, and then further on, read the email and then go to your sales page or go to your book a consultation page. So what AI is showing is that it can write a little bit better than most of us can.
Now, I really like what Sonia pointed out about AI tools allowing us to be better content writers, helping us with better content copy. If we're not getting the desired results, well, there are tools out there that can help benefit us. Now, later on in our conversation, I asked Sonia to speak specifically about sales content copy as it relates to content marketing and marketing programs. Sonia had a great response on, well, the importance of sales copy specifically.
My background, one of the things that I focus on is actually sales copy, which is different than content. And, there's some marketers who are not going to like me for what I'm about to say, but marketing, the industry as a whole has done all of us a massive disservice. And I've been in it since 2016. So I've been to the conferences. I've read all the books. I've been through countless courses. I've paid the price with my time and money to understand every aspect of marketing. And since internet marketing has become a thing for practically the last 15 years, the thing is, it's always been about you need more content. But that's such a nebulous term. What does that mean, content? That could be a blog post, an article, a YouTube video, a TikTok video. That could be your newsletter. That could be a podcast. That can be so many things. That's not including your emails. That's not including your website. So with all this content that we're told to create, we're just creating it. And if you're one of these people, you're feeling frustrated, like I'm creating all this content, I'm posting all this information, and nobody's responding, that's where you start to realize that something's disconnected because somebody's making money with all their content, but what's the difference? And here's the thing, not all content is the same. And so the analogy I like to use is, what do you actually want? Do you actually want a sales system, or do you want to become an encyclopedia? For instance, Investopedia. If you want to know anything about investing, go to Investopedia. It'll have all kinds of information about investing. HubSpot has countless articles about everything marketing, right? Everything from how to create a landing page to how to segment your funnels, all of that. But at the end of the day, you and I as owners, founders, entrepreneurs, I'm not interested in becoming an encyclopedia of information. Are you?
Now, I hear you. I don't want to be an encyclopedia, but I want to be a solid go-to resource for my clients and customers, a subject matter expert with relevant information to solve my clients' customers' problems with desired solutions, a go-to resource for relevant, insightful information.
Yeah, and it goes even a little bit beyond that. So this is where I say, at the end of the day, not all content is the same. So someone may ask, well, what's the difference between content and sales copy? Content, I say, is just purely educational. Hence, going to an encyclopedia. For those of us who are like, OGs, we know what the Encyclopedia Britannica is. Versus, now you can just go to Google. So if you just want to be an encyclopedia of information, keep doing what you're doing. Keep posting what you're posting, because your clients, your prospects will just see that you're giving information. But sales copy, the whole point of sales copy is to let prospects and clients know that you understand at least their top 3 pains. What are their top 3 problems? What are their top 3 desires?
Moving along in our conversation, I asked Sonia to elaborate a little bit more about what makes up desirable sales copy. Sonia's response was right on time. Here it is.
Sales copy is all about making sure that people, when I say people, I specifically mean your prospects and your clients, understand all the facets of their problem. They see you as a solution, and they see you as the advisor that can help them then move forward as they solve that problem, and then they run into other problems. So they will always want you in their life, because it's like, wow, you helped me fix that one, and you knew what I was going to go through. You knew my experience. So I trust you to be able to help me fix future problems, all related to whatever your expertise is. And the other thing with sales copy is it actually moves people forward. Content, once again, just educates. I can read an article about how to create a landing page or how to send out an email, but then what? Does that motivate me? Like, think about all the content that you read. As you read content, ask yourself, am I motivated to do something? If the answer is no, you just read content. You did not read sales copy. And if you did read sales copy, it was poorly written. And so the idea is always progress. Every word should move somebody forward to want to do something.
Now, moving forward, I asked Sonia specifically, you've spent a great deal of time creating sales systems, and now you have the magnetic client formula. Can you talk about how this program got started?
So the reason why I created the magnetic client formula was originally just for, myself and my own clients, as I was going through ChatGPT, learning it. And yeah, I bought the prompts. I found a bunch of free ones. And I've collected over 1,000. And what I found was, one, a lot of them just ask very basic questions. And when people say, oh, well, I have a really complex prompt. Well, the complex prompts, unfortunately, require you to make assumptions. So a lot of times you can come across a marketing prompt and it'll tell you, insert the pain, insert the problem, insert what are your clients' motivations, insert what they want to achieve. Do you actually know? I mean, do you actually know what your prospects and your clients actually want? Have you actually talked to them? Have they actually told you? Have you been listening? If you don't know this stuff, then what you enter into that prompt, it goes with, text saying garbage in, garbage out. You're going to get information that you've already been sharing with the world that no one's been listening to.
I love what you said, garbage in, garbage out. But if you can't clarify or solve a problem or come up with a solution, or at least speak to that, then it's utterly useless. It's data that's coming out, and that's not the point of leveraging that. I mean, ChatGPT, it's a chat, and you put in content, it comes back with content. You got to build the conversation, but you got to understand your client.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to understand what is it that they want. So if you're putting all your assumptions that's been running your marketing campaign up until now, and those assumptions have been incorrect or not fully fleshed out, then the chat GPTs are just going to feed back to you what you've already been doing. And at the end of the day, to me, it's like, sure, it may have written an email a little bit more efficiently than you have, but at the end of the day, it's still making the incorrect assumptions that you gave it. And that is, well, here's what I think my clients want. Like, it is astounding to me. And this is where, if you know someone who does like voice of the customer research, seriously, call them and have a conversation, Because if your marketing team has not actually had a conversation with your clients and prospects is a little bit different story, but at least with your clients in the last 6 months, people's lives change. And how do you know that what you're selling and the messaging that you're putting out to your clients is even relevant to them in this moment?
Now, I agree. Relevancy has a deadline when it comes to your clients and customers. You have to be relevant today as well as into the future. Now, Sonia talked a lot about relevant prompts, emotional language, and getting that emotional response to problem-solving prompts. This is one of my favorite segments here.
Every day is different. There's nothing that's static. But for some reason, companies are like, well, we create our website and we created this messaging 5 years ago, hasn't changed a thing. Maybe the color has changed, right? Maybe there's some new people, new graphics on the website, and that's it. But at the end of the day, it's like understanding that your clients, their problems may have shifted, and you need to be able to shift with that and be able to answer that. So this is what led me down the road of these prompts. Like, to be quite frank, I'm like, they're garbage. Like, they're not helping people. They're actually sending some people, they're mistakenly making people think like, oh, great, like my email rates, increase. And I'm like, okay. Now, if you're truly speaking to the pain of what your prospects are feeling or your clients are going through, great. But if you're not, then all ChatGPT did was write a better email for you or write a slightly better sales page than you did, which then goes to show you that your team wasn't doing the best at writing content and sales emails and sales copy and landing pages and sales funnels. And that's, unfortunately, that's like, oh gosh, we're not that good at that. And that's okay. Nobody's an expert at this. Like, no one just was amazingly born saying, I know how to write great sales copy. No, not really. We all have to learn. Even I had to learn. And when I learned this, that's where I was like, okay, how can I make ChatGPT actually help my clients and me understand what's going on with any particular prospect in any market for any service? And then it dawned on me, right? Like, it's as far as, this last recording, ChatGPT is up to speed up until 2021. So it has at least 21 years of internet history, everything you've ever posted, all the emotional stuff, everything you've liked and disliked, all the questions that have been out there about how do I do this? How do I do that? That's all been answered, and ChatGPT has that broad knowledge. So it's not like necessarily an oracle, it knows all, sees all, but it has a lot of broad knowledge that I can then ask a very specific question in a very, with emotional language, let's just call it that. There's a lot of emotional language you have to include into your prompts. And that's what I spent time doing. I spent time saying, how do I make this prompt layered with emotion, but I asking it also a very specific question. So that way, when ChatGPT responds to me, it's an emotional response to a problem. And that's the way I started looking at prompts, is how do I get an emotional response from AI to a problem that my prospects and clients face? And then once I found it for one, I found it for, an entire formula that I was then able to layer on each other. Because here's the thing, it also matters the order in which you send ChatGPT questions. Now, yes, it can look at the totality of the conversation, but what I find is that if you start with, hey, ChatGPT, here, like just high level, I want to understand these problems. And then you have it basically outlined for you. How do I then walk my client through all the facets of this problem and help them at the end see that my solution, my expertise, my experience is going to help them solve that problem? And do you know how to layer that? And that's what I started creating and layering. And that's where I came up with the magnetic client formula. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have content for the rest of the year. Within an hour, you will be able to understand so many different avenues. But here's the great part. It's not just about relying on AI to tell you, okay, here are the problems, here are the pains, here are the motivations. What's more important is that as you start putting out this content and you start getting an emotional response from your clients and prospects, guess what? They are going to start telling you, wow, this is exactly what I wanted to hear because I was going through X, Y, and Z. And then now you're getting real-time data from your prospects and clients about what they like. And then you just hit the accelerator. You hit the gas on that information. And so this is a great way of making that connection, and AI helped you do it in a way that to me, that makes sense.
Couple things I wanted to impact. You talked about voice of the customer, but if we're not checking in with our clients and customers, there is no voice of the customer. The second part, when you were talking about prompts that I took away, was the emotional insight, the emotional value of that, understanding their problems, not just regurgitating facts among facts that aren't relevant to what they need.
Right. Yeah. And it's, I find it fascinating that it's taken like all this time for like AI to really help us understand at a deeper level what's going to motivate people. I mean, I look at ChatGPT, it's one of your best market research assistants out there. And in fact, I call AI assisted intelligence.
Speaking of the topic of assisted intelligence, I asked Sonia to elaborate a little bit more on assisted intelligence.
So Doug, with assisted intelligence, we can actually create better strategies, and we can utilize AI to help us, write better content. Like there's actually some, I'll there's actually some programs and platforms that I'm utilizing that layers on top of AI that actually helps to write sales copy in a way that we sales copywriters actually write. And that's pretty like amazing, because the hardest thing about writing sales copy is that you have to truly spend, it's the 80-20 rule. I spend 80% of my time when I'm writing sales copy for a client just researching the audience, researching who's your target market, researching the client and the prospect. I spend most of my time doing that research, because when I write sales copy, I have to hit on all of those major pains and desires and motivations in a very specific and sequential way. And there's all kinds of formulas out there. Russell Brunson has a formula. Ray Edwards has a formula. Everyone has a formula on how do you tell a story that moves people forward. And one of the things that AI allows us to do is it actually helps us to craft these stories a little bit better than we would staring at a blank Google Doc and saying, okay, I have all this data. Now I need to assemble a sales page, or I need to assemble an email sequence, or I need to assemble a social post launch sequence in a way that makes people think and say, yeah, I'm going through that. Or, you know what, that's interesting. I never thought of that problem that way. And at the end of the day, I know that every email, every social post, and everyone who lands on a sales page, I know my goal is to move them forward, to have them say, you know what, maintaining the pain is no longer acceptable for me. I would prefer to live in the solution. And that's, if there's anything that as you're watching this video that you can take away, is how do I help move my clients and my prospects forward to say, I no longer want to maintain the pain.
Now, what I loved about this segment as she wrapped it up was the quote that she stated. I want to read it again to you. How do I help move my clients and prospects forward to say I no longer want to maintain the pain? Well, that is powerful. Now, as we wrapped up our conversation, I asked Sonia to talk a little bit about action items and some of the nuances and strategies when it comes to AI and sales copy.
I find with AI is that I like being able to use it to create interesting strategies, to say, hey, like, what's a novel way? What's an interesting, unique way? Notice the words I'm using. That's what I'm asking ChatGPT. What's a novel, interesting, unique way to present this product or to present this new service to our existing clients, versus what's a novel, unique way to present this same product or service to new prospects, right? Cold prospects, and see what the difference is. And you will have like an unlimited amount of ideas. But at the end of the day, ideas, right? Dime a dozen. Ideas are everywhere. The money maker is in the implementation and the execution. And if you can't implement whatever you have learned from AI and all of its research, if you can't execute it, what does it matter? You just wasted 2 hours of your life just getting like all excited about the information. But then you go to your team to say, okay, let's implement this. And you're staring at blank faces. Well, this doesn't really fit into our existing strategy. And it's like, okay, so now you have other problems.
Totally loved how she wrapped that up. Have a plan, have execution, and process and deliver on impact. Speaking of impact, I encourage you to check out Sonia Dumas and her website, the Magnetic Client Formula, and all her wealth of resources. I'm Doug, breaking it down in layman's terms. I look forward to sharing the full interview in its entirety. AI, it's making us smart today, definitely in the future, making us more efficient when it comes to sales and marketing today. As I like to say, keeping it social, leveraging video for better sales conversations. Thank you.